As you sit down and make yourself comfortable,
Yes.
that microphone adjusts up, down, left, right, however you need it.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you state your name for the record?
Janna Taylor Martin.
Where do you live?
I live at 2510 Loma Linda Street, Sarasota, Florida.
And how long have you lived in the Sarasota area?
Almost 40 years.
What do you do for a living?
Well, right now I am a missionary and a Bible teacher and a chaplain. But I started out as an elementary school teacher and I sold real estate 40 years.
And do you know Ashley Benefield?
Yes, I do.
How did you meet her?
I met Ashley in 2016 when I was called to do a prayer initiative for President Trump, and she was the coordinator between President Trump and the women that prayed and interceded for him.
And is it your understanding that Ms. Benefield lived in the Bradenton or Sarasota area since 2016?
Yes, she did. She lived first with Barbara Russell, and then after approval, she moved into our guest house, 15 steps from my back door.
And in the time that you've known Ms. Benefield, did she have family and friends in the Manatee County area?
She did.
And did you and Ms. Benefield participate in any church groups?
She was in my Bible study. Even her little Emerson, that's 7 now, and her mother, Mimi. So yes, she did, and I have been walking with Ashley for 9 years almost.
How often did your Bible study meet?
A weekly.
How many people participated?
It's all women, and it would vary anywhere from 8 to 14, except one time a man came. One man. That was all. And it was just pretty much focused on the Bible and the way to walk with the Lord.
And you mentioned that it was mostly women. Were they women of all ages, from young women to senior citizens?
Yes, they were all ages, and they were from different churches and different walks of life.
And to your knowledge, is Ms. Benefield close friends with any of these people that she met at the Bible study?
Some of them are sitting right there in the courtroom, so the answer is yes.
And do the members of the Bible study, do they continue to support Ms. Benefield?
Yes, not only with love, but they've helped financially also. They've stood with her 100%.
And you mentioned that Ms. Benefield lived with you at some point in your guest house?
Yes, she did.
When did that start, and how many years?
After this happened, after the incident, she was with Barbara Russell. She wasn't allowed to come be with her daughter in Emerson until it was approved by the powers that be. And then they came to our guest house and we prepared it properly. And we met all the regulations for it. And my husband, which I just lost, it was never any cost. We're blessed to be a blessing. We loved having them there. It was a great gift for us to have them. Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, me too. He was great.
And you kind of mentioned it. Did you charge Ms. Benefield rent?
Never. Not one dime. I didn't want it. We wanted her to be there and be safe, and we believe she was.
And at the time that she was living in your guest house, was she working?
She was. Different jobs at different times, and always obedient. I remember, I have to be here at this time. It was always, she was very obedient about being on time and right. And yes, she did have different jobs.
And could you describe for the court who Ashley is as a person?
She's precious. I've never heard the child say a curse word. She's mature beyond her age, and she had a position with Mr. Trump, whether you liked him or not, that she did a great job. She was obedient. She had a good position. She led the prayer team, and we prayed for months for Donald Trump before he won. She is a lovely, smart, outstanding, godly girl. Is that enough?
Yes, that is enough. Thank you. And did you have the opportunity to observe Ashley as a mother?
Impeccable mother. As a child, I would go to the guest house and she'd be holding Emerson, they'd be talking about dinosaurs. They'd have books. They'd be watching shows. She was an impeccable mother. She put her first. She had her in a ballet. She had her in swimming. She had her in tap. She did everything she could to support Emerson, and still is. And I wish she could be with Emerson and supporting her now.
How old is Emerson?
7.
And to your knowledge, did Emerson participate in any programs or activities in the local area?
Absolutely. The Nutcracker with the Sarasota Ballet.
Anything else? Any like?
If I may, at my husband's funeral last week, they asked for people to speak. Emerson came up the aisle in her cowboy boots, and she took the microphone, and she turned around and she said, "I love my Papa Jim, and I understand because my cat died. It's a precious child. She's missing her mother desperately. But I had a smart son. She's bright. She's very, very bright."
Thank you, Ms.
It's
Martin.
just, I know I may be saying too much.
That's okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. If Ms. Benefield is granted an appellate bond, where would she live?
She would live 10 steps from my back door.
Is that in the guest house or somewhere else?
Actually, it's in another house we own next door that's bigger and more room, where I think they could be a little more comfortable. The guest house isn't that big.
And would she be living there with anyone else?
Yes,
Would it be
her mother and Emerson.
Okay.
And it would be no charge.
And how are they already living there? Her mother and Emerson.
They are.
Do you know how long they've been there?
Yes. Whenever Mr. Neal, I mean, it was around Thanksgiving. Don't hold me to that.
So
But
a couple months.
yeah.
And if the court were to impose conditions of release, such as an ankle monitor or curfew, would you help her in complying with those conditions?
Absolutely. 100%.
Do you have any reason to believe that Ms. Benefield poses a flight risk?
Never. Absolutely never. Absolutely never. I believe with all my heart, she would be obedient. She was obedient the last time. I think she would be obedient again.
Just one moment. And would you be willing to be sort of like a custodian for Ms. Benefield? If you notice any violations, would you report them?
Yes, and I'd be a good custodian because I tell the truth, and I would be obedient as a custodian, and it would be my honor. If the judge's heart would see it, it would be an honor for me to be a custodian at this time. That's going to be hard for me to be alone with. I'd love to be a custodian.
And since Ms. Benefield's arrest, have you been providing her with emotional support?
Yeah,
Will you continue to do so?
absolutely. With prayer, with guidance, and we're going to walk this out, and the Lord rules.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Judge.
Hold on one second. Cross?
No questions.
Okay,
Thank
now
you.
you're all set.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. If it would be possible, if we could try to see if Dr. Barbara Russell is out there now. She is? Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
God, I do.